everyone and welcome to the Learning Ladder. Today I am sharing with you what we're using for history and geography in 7th grade for the 2024-2025 homeschool year. I have done this video for all of our curriculum, then I've split it up into different categories just to make it a bit easier if you're searching for a specific subject. So I'll link below for language arts, science, and so on. But today we are talking about history and geography. So for history this year we are doing medieval times. So I picked two curricula this year. Invasion, Plague and Murder, Britain 1066 to 1558. This is an Oxford text. And then I also got the History, Medieval Realms 1066 to 1485. We're not using them both in their entirety. This is our main one, and then I'm using this for more of a read aloud and then just picking certain questions or projects or anything like that I think it looks good. But we'll look at this one first. So this is, as I said, Invasion, Plague and Murder. We have 9 chapters in total. So 1066, the Norman Conquest, how religious were people in the Middle Ages, life in the Middle Ages, power in the Middle Ages, health and medicine, England at war, here comes the Tudors, medieval Britain. Now they do have in-depth study. So the life in the Middle Ages is what they class as their depth study, which is more focused on these particular topics and events. But it's basically kind of set up in a similar way. Now, it's quite lengthy, although you think, oh, 9 chapters, it's not that long. I worked it out and we have to do it 3 times a week in order to be finished for the end of the year. So it's quite meaty. So it's kind of set up a similar way throughout, but there are some extra bits that I think are what made me decide to choose this one as our main one over the other one. So usually you have some text to read, there are lots of images, some over to you questions, and then you have this cause and consequence where it's some more information that you have to expand on, sort of kind of like an essay writing section, but not yet, but we get to that. So basically this is what it looks like inside. You have objectives, you have keywords. Again, we've got the cause and consequence information. Over to you section, knowledge and understanding, and so on. But what I really like is where it splits off into these kinds of different investigation sections, if you like. So for example, this is the history mystery, and it's how did King Harold die, and then you've got source and interpretation analysis. So we talk about what a source is, what a interpretation is. There are quizzes at the end of each chapter, and then there is a literary exercise or a literary focus. This particular one is note-taking, so it tells you, more information about how to take notes from a historical document or for history specifically. And then it goes on to have some specific skills. So in this case, it's to write a narrative account. It goes through step by step how to do that, and this is the main reason why I picked this one over the other one, because I like these extra skills that it teaches you. Again, we're continuing with our how to write a narrative account and so on. So again, similar as the other ones were laid out in the first section, we get our quiz at the end. Literary focus this time is about writing in detail. There's also a vocabulary check. And then again, you've got a historical skill or a history skill. And this is interpretation analysis. It goes into more depth about how to do that. And then there's an assessment where they can try and do it themselves. So this is particularly why I liked this one slightly more than the other one. And this is why we decided this would be the main curriculum. So I'll show you the in-depth study now. So this is their depth study. So that's what it looks like. Which I do really like the look of. Again, this was another thing that I particularly liked. It's very visual. I think it's quite easy to see everything on the page. It's laid out well. The only thing that's annoying is there is no answer guide with it, unless you buy this massive, big, expensive IT equipment, because I thought, oh, it's probably in the teacher guide. So I got the teacher guide for a previous level, the edition before this, not the level, I shouldn't say that, a previous edition. So this is the 4th edition, and I got the third edition with the teacher guide used just to compare and see, you know, what the teacher guide was like, because the teacher guide was very expensive. And it doesn't actually have the answer key in, so to me the teacher guide is pretty useless. It does give a little bit of information, which I'll show you in a second what the teacher guide looks like, but you know, in terms of planning a lesson and things. But other than that, it's really not good. But there's an IT package that you can buy with this, and that's where the answers are. But to be honest, it's, you know, we're still at a level where it's fine. We don't need the answer keys. It's just obviously helpful, but it's not necessary. History was one of my top subjects, so I'm not too worried about not having the answer key, but it just is a pain sometimes, because if I have to go through and read, but it's not reams and reams of pages, so you know, it's not the end of the world. But I'll just give you a flip through. So yes, I particularly like the literary focus. I like the cause and consequence section, and I like the depth study as well, and the little knowledge quizzes. So that's the 4th edition. I'll just quickly show you what the teacher guide looks like, in case you're thinking, do I really need to spend that amount? Because I think it was £150. Luckily I got mine used. But so this was the teacher guide. This is for the, as I said, for the 3rd edition, but I can't imagine why it'd be that different. So basically it has all the teacher stuff at the front, you know, in terms of assessments and things, and then it'll have this section at the top which tells you to go to the Caboodle IT software, and I think that's where the answer key is. But it also has worksheets that you can print off, and little games and things that they can play. That does kind of sound interesting, but I think it was £250, but you only got it for the year, and then you know, that was it with a year subscription. I might consider that in the future, but for right now I think we're fine just using the text, because I use the other text as well, and then obviously we can add videos and things. I can make it interactive that way. But this is basically what it looks like. So you get the lesson summary, some starter suggestions, learning suggestions and assessment, how to differentiate, and that's pretty much it. There is no answer key at all. So I didn't think it was worth £105. I'm lucky I found this used, so I could actually see that I don't need to get the teacher guide for £150. Okay, so I am using this with it, mainly for the read aloud section. So if you can see, it's very much like Story of the World in terms of, you know, how it's set out. It's told in a story format, which I really appreciate. So we have been reading it. And then at the end of each passage they have exercises with questions. So what I'm planning to do is just having a look at some of the questions and seeing if, particularly the source ones, because I think they're all really useful, especially for writing essays and things, and you know, look at any help prompts and things when it comes to essays. But other than that, we're doing all the exercises in the other book and just reading this one to go along with. But as I said, taking any of the skills that I think are useful in the questioning and the sources and incorporating them that way. We do all our activities in our history notebook from School Nest. We used this last year for ancient, and because obviously it's medieval, we're just continuing on. So at the end she'll have a full notebook with the different time periods in, which will be useful. Okay, so for geography we are doing Jog 1. Both of these are new curriculum to us, so I'll let you know at the end of the year how we liked everything. But basically you get the the textbook, the workbook, and then you can purchase a teacher guide. I did get the teacher guide. Do I think it's essential? No, but it was just pretty much an answer key, so I thought it was actually more useful than that other teacher guide anyway, let's put it that way. So basically you have, in terms of topics, so you've got geography and you, maps and mapping, about the UK, glaciers, rivers, Africa and Kenya. So each year there is a different focus for different countries, which reminds me very much of the primary geography that we used in previous years, the primary geography curriculum. Very similar in layout and how you get to go through different countries and things. So it has a 2-page spread. There are your turn questions. Now the your turn questions are not in the answer key. So I don't know where I'm assuming they must be in a different teacher guide. But the your turn the questions in the workbook are in the answer key that I purchased. So basically you have 7 your turn questions on that particular page. So once they do the 2-page spread, then they do their work pages. So we'll have a look at those in a second. I just wanted to give you a look at what this one looks like inside. So they do vary in terms of how much you need to do. Sometimes it's a lot more. Then there is always a check section. So let's just skip through. Let's look at one of the countries. We'll look at the Africa one. Get to the beginning. There we go. So this is one. We're talking about one of the countries. As you can see, it's really bright and colourful. Statistics and graphs and things. That's what the country section looks like. And then for each of the 2-page spread, you have a 1-page spread in here. So it follows the same path, but you only have 1 page to do in the workbook. It is black and white. But again, it kind of reminds me of the CG workbook styles, where it's, draw this and fill out this kind of thing. Question and answer sheets. So again, I'll let you know how we find it. As I said, these are both new curriculum to us this year. Let's look at the Africa ones. So again, you've got your 1-page spread. And I do have an answer key for this one, which is basically, it's just a photocopy of the page with the answers written on. It's very, very basic. And it was £30 odd, which is crazy, really expensive for what it was, but there you go. I don't know if I'd get it again, to be honest, because I thought it would have the answers for both of them, so the workbook and the text, but it doesn't, so I don't know if it's worth it, to be honest. The answer key. It depends how much you don't want to read the page, because most of the answers are in the text, so. Or it's one of those where it's not an answer and it's just something that they have to interpret or make an opinion on and things. So that's JARG 1. So I'll let you know how we like them both in my update. So thanks so much for watching. Take care. See you soon.